So I'll give you a little background on me. I've been in real estate for a really long time, over 35 years. And I started in what was a really hot market. And I'll tell you about that a little later. And then the market crashed completely after I thought I knew everything and caused me an incredible amount of pain. And that's the standpoint I come at with for everything. But I've had a lot of fun stories over the years as well. I won't tell you the Joe Bartera getting shot at story today. Too many people have heard it already, but we'll revisit that at some point because that's a fun story. I'll tell you a quick story about showing properties. This is probably 25 years ago. I had a client call, and this is before we get into this because I'm waiting for everybody to tune in. So, probably 25 or 30 years ago, I had a client who wanted to look at a few houses. This was in Whitehall, Pennsylvania, in Copley. And these are twin homes or duplexes, depending on where you are in the area, where you've got three bedrooms on the second floor and a bathroom, and the first floor is usually a living room, a dining room right behind it, and a kitchen right behind that. And he called and asked if I could preview all four showings before getting there, because his wife has this unnatural fear, and he knows it's just a ridiculous fear, but she had this unnatural fear of ceramic dolls that they come to life at night or something. Everybody's got weird fears, heights or enclosed spaces or whatever. And I promised him I'd go out and look at these four houses ahead of time and walk through and make sure there weren't any ceramic dolls in it. But I got into an argument over a settlement. I got into a battle with an attorney over a transaction, and it was pouring, and I never got out. So I called all four agents and I said, were there any ceramic dolls in the house? Three of them got back and said no. And the fourth one didn't get back to me, but I looked at the pictures online. There weren't many of them, but the house was empty. So I wasn't worried about it. So we got through the first three houses, and this is October, so it gets dark early. And I get to the fourth house, and we walk in the front door, and there's no light on, and there's no switch right to the right where there should be one. So I walk into about the middle of the room myself, because I kind of see a light switch by a side door. And the living room, dining room were combined in this case instead of a living room and then a dining room behind it. And so I flip on the light switch, and by this point, the couple is in the room. And, it's funny, you can't make this stuff up. Down both sides of the room and across the back were three shelves right across the entire room. And there's no furniture, but every square inch of these shelves were covered in ceramic dolls. And at the end, standing near the wall at the back part of the room, was this probably 3.5 foot ceramic doll on the floor. And I took a step back and went, oh my Lord. And it's one of those old houses, 1920s, and it had the softwood floors. And I think what probably happened is I moved too quickly and I hit the floor the wrong way, but it resonated and it appeared that that tall doll moved. And the buyer just completely freaked out. They got a taxi cab, they left, and they never saw me again. And of course, would not work with me. So,
Is
anyway,
that
always do what you
Ryan
say you're going to
Annabelle?
do. Yeah, I've had some really bad experiences in life, Dwight. But always try, you've had some terrible ones, but always try and do what you say you're going to do. So, just a comment on that. All right, so we've got a bunch of people in here. We are recording. I'm going to go through a high level of this today. I'm not going to give you a motivational speech. This is not a believe in yourself and manifest commissions type thing. I want to have a strategic conversation because if we're being honest, most agents don't struggle because they lack potential. They struggle because they lack a clear model. So I want to break down today, and again from a high level, why most agents nationally aren't doing well, and I'm going to mention some of the statistics, why some agents succeed at very high levels, and the framework that kind of separates the two. And then we're going to answer the real question everybody asks, which is how do I get more leads? And before I get into that, if I can change slides for some reason, I want to remind you that we do have access to a lot of tools that many independent brokers simply can't afford to provide. And I mention that because some of this stuff is helpful to really build your careers. The first one there, Central 21 Keim University, which is open to Country Lakes Keim offices. It's not to those of you on from Emerald at the moment, but it's home to Empower AI, nearly 2 dozen tools that are designed to make you smarter, faster, and more professional. If you need social media content, it's there. If you need a quick market analysis, it does that. It'll actually talk to you and role play a tough seller objection at 10:30 at night. We have one that'll track down property owners and give you their contact information. It's called skip tracing. There's a virtual stager. There's something that you can input your lease or your offer into, and it'll analyze it and give you a report and tell you what is good or bad about it. Full listing marketing packages is all there, and it's layered into a platform that is our training, structured, repeatable, and on demand. And actually, while I'm at it, let me just pull that up really quick. And you can see on the screen, those of you who can see on the screen, there's an AI hub, a lead hub, a marketing hub, prospecting, which I'm going to talk about today, and training. And this AI hub, again, has like 24 different AI tools. The marketing hub has some cool stuff. The prospecting hub is cool, and we'll talk about this in a little bit of detail. It has whole programs here for sell by owners, absentee owners, expired listings, probate, divorce. So, for example, if I click pre-foreclosure, if I click on divorce, and I get these questions all the time. Hey, I want to go after divorce listings, or I want to go after pre-foreclosures, or I want to go after estates. And they say, real quick, that's my favorite question. I know Lisa and Dwight probably hear the same thing all the time. Real quick, can you tell me how to go after foreclosure departments and banks? How to go after estates? And it's like a 4 hour conversation. So what we've done is we built out a lot of these training systems in tools you can actually go look at because I'll forget 10 things to tell you about, whereas everything's in here. So we've got on divorce listings as an example, how to find them, scripts and what to say, phone scripts, email scripts, and practice. And again, this practice thing will allow you to talk to it and it'll talk back. And even marketing stuff you can put together for it. And then under our training hub, we have lots of training, including our Quick Start program, which is 25 videos to get you up and running. We also have for brand new commercial agents, our commercial masterclass, social media mastery, a negotiation program that we put together, and full training on Moxie Works and a lot of other stuff. So all this stuff is here for you, and I'm hoping that you take advantage of it because it does really help you to get up and running. The second set of tools are Canva Pro. If you've never used Canva, it is such a powerful tool. We have a pro account for every one of you. No excuses for ugly flyers or images anymore. And Moxie Rise, of course, which might be the most underutilized powerhouse we've got. A full contact management program, a presentation software, a CMA tool, a custom website that you can customize. The moment you list a property, it auto generates marketing pieces for it. You can even launch meta ads directly from it. There are some tools that cost money, like the meta ads, if you're pushing them out on a paid version. But the question always is, are you using some of these to their full potential? And I do also mention pretty regularly our in-house services like Mountain Abstract and Settlement USA and 21st Century Lending and Valor Insurance. We use our internal partners because it strengthens our company and it gives us a little bit of extra, cash so we can provide tools like the one you just saw. It isn't about trying to force you to do business with them. It's about trying to build an ecosystem. When our mortgage team wins, when our title team wins, when our insurance team wins, we all win. And that allows us to reinvest in our company and reinvest in technology. So please kind of keep that in mind. And we are looking for more lenders for the 21st Century Lending team. One last one or two things on Century 21 University. If you've not logged in lately, there are dozens of courses, some of them live, some of them on demand. But you'll see there are three pathways, structured pathways for agents. One is brand new to real estate. And if you haven't gone through that yet and you're new, please do that. One is new to Century 21 or you're inconsistent in income and have to get on the right track. And that's a different pathway, different courses. And then the last one is experienced producers, how to take your career from here to a much higher level. And this isn't random training. This is a whole team that puts this stuff together. It's a map progression. You wouldn't go to the gym and just wander around touching equipment. I mean, I do, but you shouldn't do that. That gives you it gives you your workout plan, your consistency, your pathway. And again, there are dozens of other training programs. And in our quick start, again, it's 25 videos, and I have it there because it gives you all the tools you need to really get started. One-on-one training is great, and we do a lot of that, but we miss things. If it's planned and recorded, you get everything. And more importantly, you can go back and look at stuff over and over and over again because it takes a while to build that career. And I know a lot of people don't ever make it through a lot of this training. But once you get through it, you'll see the tools to really set up your website, to start sharing listings on social media, to we tour homes to get an idea of value. We do sample CMAs, filling out listing and sales contracts. All that stuff is part of this. And you have to learn all of that because, frankly, and I've said this probably too many times, research shows that it takes 63 to 65 repetitions of any skill to build a neural pathway so it becomes reflexive. So you've got to do 63 to 65 listing appointments before it becomes ingrained in you. And that takes a long time to build. So some of these tools are there to help you to learn that. And one last thing before I get back into what we were talking about today, if you are not signed up, since there are only 4 signed up so far, 121 in Las Vegas, if you get a chance, I know it's expensive, I know it's an investment, but it is one of the best concentrations of hands-on workshops, breakout sessions, networking, incredible speakers, national level training that you're ever going to experience. I'd love to see more of you there because exposure really changes your trajectory. And when you surround yourself with agents who are doing 50 and 75 and 100 transactions a year, it really recalibrates what you believe is possible. Growth really rarely happens in our comfort zones. If you're serious about leveling up this year, one of the fastest ways to do it is to get out to the 121 event. So consider that. Now, I want to get back to leads and where the market is and where people are in their careers. So I want to start with some reality that's kind of painful. Nationally, if you haven't seen the statistic, it's all over the place today. Over 70%, 71.1% in fact, of realtors did zero transactions in the multi-list last year in the country. Zero, none. Only 14.9% did 1 to 4 transactions. Now, we can argue about teams and how they count deals. We can argue about off-market deals. But the bigger point is the average realtor is not thriving right now. And I don't say that to be dramatic, and no, that does not mean you should leave the business today because there's nothing happening. That's not true. We have some of the most successful people in Pennsylvania as part of this company. We had 12 people who made it into the top 10 Century 21 agents in Pennsylvania, just in our firm. There's so much opportunity here. I say this because I don't want anybody in this meeting today to become a statistic. There's nothing wrong with the industry. There's a lot of opportunity, but there are challenges to everybody's approach. And I don't want anybody, again, to be a statistic. You didn't get into real estate to be average. You didn't wake up one day and say, I really hope I close 2 deals a year and stay stressed all the time. The danger in this business is not failure, it's drift. It's being busy but not being productive. It's working but not building your career. And if you don't intentionally design your business, you're going to default into being average. And average right now is not real comfortable because we're in a low spot in the market. Although interest rates dip below 6%, we think that this year we're going to start seeing more people coming back out into the market and some things happening. But in order to really take advantage of that, we've got to get higher listing inventory, more listings in the marketplace, and that takes work. So I usually start by saying, why are most agents struggling? And it's not that they're not intelligent enough or they don't have the right personality. It is slightly market conditions, but there are still agents right now selling more than 100 properties a year each. It's inconsistency and its lack of structure. Most agents don't generate enough leads. They don't convert effectively. They don't follow up long enough, and they don't build systems. They rely on their own motivation, and motivation is unreliable. You don't build income on how you feel. You build income on what you can repeat. And if I flip the lens, who is it that succeeds? The agents at the top are not superheroes. They're structured. They do boring things consistently. And by the way, if you'll notice when we do these meetings, the people who are doing the best are usually always on here. And they're the ones who probably need it the least. But they're always out there trying to learn and do better and do more and do more. So the ones who are at the top are the ones who do the boring things, but they do them consistently. They prospect when they don't feel like it. They follow up longer than it feels comfortable, calling leads 5 or 6 or 7 times, not 1 or 2. They track their numbers. And they stick with one strategy long enough for it to work, not calling expired listings one day, but calling them week after week. The difference isn't talent. It's tolerance for repetition. Top agents aren't more inspired. They're more disciplined. Now, every real estate business, and you have your own real estate business, without exception, follows 4 pillars, I call them. If one is weak, your income suffers. And it's generating leads, converting those leads, following up, and then delivering great service to your clients. That first step is generating more leads. And if nothing new is entering your pipeline, your future shrinks. Step 2, though, is as important or more important than getting the leads in the first place, and that's converting them effectively. If you can't follow up and articulate value, you compete on price. And that's why we spend so much time working on listing presentations and buyer presentations, because it's critical to really know what you're talking about and come off polished and professional and be able to answer questions. The third one is following up systematically. Most deals are lost not to competitors, but to time. For every call and every lead that comes in, and the National Association of Realtors studies this regularly, between 60 and 65 of those 100 leads, 60 to 65 of them will buy or sell something within 15 months. 60 plus percent. And the average agent closes only 4% of those leads. Poor agents do 1 to 2%, and great agents do only 10 to 12%. But over 60% of those people who contact you are going to buy or sell. And I hear all the time, well, those leads were garbage. No, they're probably not. Step four is delivering exceptional service. That's how you create referrals and stability. The key is most struggling agents are weak in generating leads in the first place. So naturally, the question becomes, how do I get more leads? And that's kind of what we're headed into today, at least on a higher level. So the most common question I get all the time is, how do I get more business? How do I get more leads? But it's probably the wrong first question, because getting leads implies randomness, like leads are floating out there and you just need a bigger net. The better question is, what model of lead generation am I going to choose to build? Because there is no magic button. You have your own business within a business. You are an independent real estate professional. And while you'll get some leads just from being affiliated with Century 21, just from being affiliated with our firm, just from being out in the marketplace, or people calling on one of our signs or calling on one of our ads online, you're never going to make a great living waiting for that to happen. It doesn't. There's no magic bullet, no magic button. They're only models, and the agents who choose one of them deliberately and stick with it long enough really make it work. So every successful agent you know has built something. Now, some of them paid for business. Some of them worked for business, cold calling, knocking on doors, whatever. Most of them did some sort of combination. But none of them woke up one day and said, wow, the market just decided to bless me. Leads are engineered. You build systems, you build conversations, you build your own visibility. And the difference between struggling agents and consistent producers isn't talent, it's structure and decision making. We talked in the last couple of meetings about an agent who's not with our firm, by the way, but has been in the business about 3 years and is on fire, doing really well. And every morning she puts out a 30 or 60-second Instagram video that goes up on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And for whatever reason, she now has a lot of followers. She just has a short message every day. And she probably goes to ChatGPT or something else and probably does that. And I don't think that Instagram ad is the only thing she does, but built a career in a very short period of time by maintaining that connection, that contact. And my point is, you have to do something. You can't wait for it to come to you. Now, this is the slide I almost always use. I'm going to twist it a little bit today. But the way I usually explain business is that we find it three ways. One of them is generating referrals. We want to build strong relationships, and that's joining networks. In fact, if you look at Vanessa as an example of someone who's been successful in networking, she joined the Chamber of Commerce and went to every meeting. And from there, there were subgroups that were part of that. And she joined all of them. And she's been recognized by several organizations. The Lady Boss event, she is one of the recipients of that. She's been receiving awards from different organizations, and she is starting a chapter of NAREP, the National Association of Hispanic Professionals in Real Estate in the Lehigh Valley. She's actually starting a chapter of that, which is a great organization. But it started with joining networks and trying to participate. It takes a while to build business from that, though. There's also social networking. There's farming areas or demographic groups. There's posting on social media regularly, like daily videos on Instagram, or really taking care of your clients. All that referral building, all that relationship building absolutely works. It's one of the best ways to build business, but it takes time. It takes 12 to 18 months to start seeing some results out of that. So often in the beginning, newer agents leave the business before they ever get really any traction with that. The second method is paying for business. And when I say paying for business, we can buy leads from Zillow for $200 a lead right now, or we can pay referral fees to OpCity. or we can pay to send out postcard mailers to an area over and over again, or we can buy into that lead fast leads that we introduced last week on a monthly subscription, or you can pay Meta directly and market yourself online. But all of those are ways to pay for business, whether we're paying up front by paying Zillow per lead, or whether we're paying on the back end with the referral fee. It's still buying business, buying leads. And then the last way, where desperation hits, but it really does work, is going out and finding people, making phone calls, instant messaging them on Facebook, reaching out by knocking on doors, calling expired listings, calling for sale by owners, people that are already, we know, looking to buy and sell expired listings and for sale by owners, and reaching out to them. That's proactively prospecting, finding business. Now, today I want to twist the wording a little bit. I'm going to call it buying the business, borrowing the business, or building the business. And that's really it. Every tactic you've ever heard of falls into one of those buckets. And the key question I want you to think about today is, which model are you primarily trying to live on right now? Because most struggling agents are unconsciously mixing all three inconsistently. Many times we are in that position where we've got to go out and we've got to find business today because we need to get a commission check tomorrow. And at the same time, we've got to be building something more long term that's going to hopefully develop business for us over time, because we want to stay in touch with all those clients and all those people that we connect with that will hopefully bring us business. And this slide might sting a little bit, but what's the number one reason that agents fail? It's really failure to prospect. It's funny when agents come in and interview with us when they're brand new and they talk to 5 or 6 companies, and every company points out that one agent who made $500,000 last year, or 800,000, or whatever it was, and says, look what this agent did. And you can do the same thing being here. Well, every company's got some agents that are earning great six-figure incomes, and every company has agents that are starving. It isn't the company making that happen. It's the individual. I hate to say that, but it's true. We offer a lot for you. We have a lot of tools here. We've got name recognition that everybody knows. It's the most recognized name in real estate in the world. And that gives you a leg up. But the business still is up to you. And failing to prospect is the number one reason agents fail. It's not the interest rate. It's not the election. It's not your broker. It's not your bad luck. It's a lack of consistent, intentional prospecting. 71% didn't sell a single property in 2025, and that's not a market problem. That's an activity problem. But the good news about activity problems is that we can fix them. We can work through that. So prospecting starts with clarity. If you don't know who you're trying to target, who you're talking to, you talk to nobody. You wait for the phone to ring. And successful agents very often don't market to everybody. They identify audiences. They might just target the Hemlock Farms neighborhood. They might just target seniors transitioning. We had an agent who retired that just targeted seniors transitioning into assisted living. He had a whole system for it and it worked well for him. But they identify audiences like for sale by owners or investors or renters or absentee owners. And some of these campaigns we're going to be talking about over the next 2 weeks. I'm going to do several workshops just on specific campaigns. But some of these campaigns we also have on our university site, where we built out whole training platforms on that thing. Relocation departments, senior communities. The agents who win don't wait for business. They decide who they're going to go after, and they do it repeatedly. And again, over the next 2 weeks, I'm going to do 2 or 3 sessions just on different target audiences, but you've got to pick the target you're looking for. Now, on this screen, I have, this is not all of them by a long shot, but there are more opportunities here than any person can handle. Expired listings for sale by owners, just listed campaigns, we call it circle prospecting, life events like births, deaths, divorces, absentee owners, pre-foreclosures, builders. There's a Century 21 agent in the Easton area that just listed a builder community, which none of us thought that builder would ever stop using in-house staff. And he actually got a development. So absentee owners, pre-foreclosures, people that are in foreclosure but have not been foreclosed yet. Dwana has one of those right now. Builders, investors, geographic farming, senior communities, commercial. There's so many different target markets, it's not funny. The issue is an opportunity. The issue is dilution. Most agents dabble. They might try something here and try something there and switch to something else next month. You watch a YouTube video and you get excited about a different plan. But top agents choose a segment or 2 or 3 and they own it. because consistency beats variety. You don't need 14 strategies. You need one or two that you execute relentlessly. And I always say start with who you know, and I'm going to talk about this later as well. Before you buy ads or knock on 900 doors, which I'll talk about too, before you build a brand empire, start with those people who already know your name. Your sphere of influence, your social network is your lowest cost, highest trust audience. Family, friends, neighbors, past colleagues, people you went to high school and college with, they all trust you. The only question is, do they remember that you sell real estate? And I want to remind you that you probably don't know what career all of your nieces and nephews and cousins are in right now. You probably don't know what each of your best friends from high school is doing in terms of a career or college is doing. You just don't remember all those things. So we've got to remind them that we're in the business, and we've got to remind them that we're the people to reach out to. And most agents dramatically underestimate this group. You don't need 10,000 followers on Instagram, although it'd be nice. You need 200 people who know, like, and remember you, because 14% of them are going to move this year. And half of those 14% are going to both buy and sell. So that means 42 potential transactions if you know 200 people. That's a lot of transactions. And by the way, our average commission is, $5,800 or something like that. So yes, canvassing still works. Absolutely. Door to door is uncomfortable, but it works. But so is not paying your mortgage. And face to face builds rapport faster than any algorithm ever will. Lots of different opportunities. Another method is to leverage any listing you get. We call this circle prospecting. Every listing is not just a listing, it's a marketing engine. When you put a sign in the yard, something magical happens. And you're wasting it if you don't tap into it. Because neighbors start talking about the fact that somebody's moving. And when they talk about somebody moving, they start thinking about it as well. So every listing should generate just listed campaigns. Well, I can't afford to send out postcards, Lauren. Then go knock on the doors. Or print a flyer at the office and go stick it in their door. Although knocking on it works better. Just sold campaigns. Same thing when you sell the house. Social media content on that listing. Neighborhood conversations. Open house sign-ins. Go out and invite the neighborhood to the open house. And expired listings, they're not failures. They're motivated sellers who need a new strategy. So you have to go after that type of audience with empathy and with a plan and with competence. Again, listings create leverage. So treat them like assets. They absolutely are. If you get one, parlay that into two or three. You really can. And some of the other targeting is niche markets. You have to figure out which niche might work best for you because generalists struggle and specialists get remembered. If you try to be everything to everybody, you blend in. But if you say, I work with first time buyers, or I specialize in lakefront properties, or I focus on senior transitions like Phil did, I specialize in foreclosures or pre foreclosures, or I handle foreclosed properties for banks. You become specific, and specific builds authority, and authority builds referrals. You don't need to dominate the entire market, you need to dominate one segment. We've got a couple of agents right now working specifically on the gas station market. That's a target audience that can be built out very well. We used to own that years ago. Real estate is not just a transaction business, it's a life event business. So, what are some of the other places where we can target to get business? Marriages, divorces, retirement, births, career changes. Every major life transition triggers housing decisions. There used to be an agent, he's since passed away, but there used to be an agent at Monahan Realtors who used to go to funerals every day. By the way, I do not recommend this, but I'm pointing out the way different brokers make money. So he would go to funerals and go through the receiving line and go up to the whoever the widow or widower is and say, I'm so sorry, this is awful. Oh, hey, if you need anything, here's my card. And somehow he didn't get punched in the face, and he did list a lot of properties and did very well. But my point is that those life changes or life events are a lot of what our business is. Referrals from attorneys or CPAs or financial advisors or HR departments. Right now, we know that there's a $3.5 billion investment coming into the Lehigh Valley for Eli Lilly going to be making those shots in the Lehigh Valley. That's a huge opportunity for people coming in. They're going to bring in 1,000 employees, or they're going to hire 1,000 employees if they're going to be mostly local. But it creates a lot of opportunity, a lot of action. There are 3 large data centers planned right now in the Lehigh Valley that are each over 1 million square feet. Each of those is going to employ a couple hundred people at higher paying wages. So again, build referral relationships. Host events when possible. Show up in the community. Be visible. I'm telling you, follow Dwight around or follow Vanessa around when they go to some of these events. Visibility builds trust. Trust builds referrals, and referrals build the stability of your business. Now, I don't want to forget digital either. We can talk about digital, Facebook ads, Meta ads, Google pay per click, Instagram, YouTube walkthroughs. Digital prospecting is powerful because it lets you scale attention. And we will be doing another workshop on workshop marketing, which actually works surprisingly well. We've got a lot of stuff planned that we're going to be doing in both over Zoom for customers hitting different target audiences. And we're going to be doing a lot of stuff at the Bethel Marketing Center because it's got that big training room. We're going to install a camera in the or a projector in the ceiling instead of just the one that's on the ground right now to make it easier for events to be held there and try and get more traction with people coming in to do stuff. But all this digital stuff does work. But where most agents fail is they think buying ads replaces discipline. It doesn't. Digital means that you have to spend money on it and you've got to have very quick response, very quick follow up, and you have to be relentless in your follow up. So the pro tip is kind of simple. Don't send out generic auto replies if somebody connects with you. Send out personal video messages. Be human, stand out. Technology amplifies your discipline, it doesn't substitute for it. And keep in mind, as we work on 2 or 3 workshops over the next 2 weeks for anybody who can attend them, and we work on specific target markets, keep in mind that prospecting it doesn't fit every agent. Every agent has to do it to be successful, but there isn't a one size fits all. Hey, how do I make money today? You've got to figure out what's going to work for you. You are an independent contractor. You are your own business within a business. And that means your business, you are your business, and your personality matters, your strength matters. Some of you are natural door knockers. Some of you would rather go wrestle a bear than knock on a door. I'm one of those people. Some love digital at marketing, and there are ways to make money that way. Some thrive in networking rooms. Some love data and farming. The best prospecting model is not the one that sounds impressive. It's the one that you will execute every single day. So you've got to pick a lane that fits your temperament and then commit to that. And where everything comes together, you don't need motivation. You need a system. Identify your strengths, schedule timed prospect, execute your plan, and review and refine it. Most agents wait for the phone to ring, and that's not a strategy. That's a wish. You've got to schedule it. You've got to execute it. You've got to then start measuring how you're doing so you can tweak it. And then you repeat it. And if you do that consistently, you're not going to be part of that 71% because income in this business is not accidental. It's engineered. You know, 2 of our most successful agents over the years were Kathy and Ellie. And I'll give you a quick story on both of them. So Ellie did very poorly her first 3 or 4 months in the business and she quit. And I talked her into coming back. And she did fantastic for the rest of her career. And her daughter, of course, is incredibly successful as well. But when she came back in, one of the deals I made with her was that she had to do a certain number of calls a day for sale by owners and expired listings. And you know, Ellie's top month, she listed 31 homes, not a builder, not all by the same person, 31 different owners, 31 listings in 1 month. And that was from sitting down and calling people. Kathy, on the other hand, had started. She was with us about a year and was struggling a bit and went home and found that her husband had left and I told her he was leaving and took half the stuff. And Kathy came in and said she has to go get a regular job because she can't afford to live. And in those days, I was more aggressive. I tried to get everybody to be successful and I was more forceful in trying to push you to succeed. I'm a lot more laid back these days because I thought everybody could succeed if they just applied themselves. So anyway, Kathy was mostly deaf. And she had this thing that allowed her to talk on the phone. And I talked her into using the Floyd Wickman Sweat Hog program, which we'll talk about in a minute. And she did phone calls. Now, that's not the way everybody succeeds. It's not what you have to do to succeed, but it works. And she started by calling around neighborhoods where one of our agents had recently sold a property because nobody else was doing it. And said, hey, it's Kathy calling from Section 21. We just sold your neighbor's house at 123 Main Street. We generated a lot of activity while we were in the market and just calling to see if anybody else is interested in selling because we still have buyers that are looking. She did that 3 days a week for the next 18 months. And she was our top agent by the end of month 7. So 3 times a week she came in the office. She made phone calls until she got an appointment. She got 3 listing appointments a week. She listed at least one house every week. And from those listings, she ended up double ending probably about half of them where she got her own buyers and sold somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 houses in that 12-month period, the first 12 months. Very, very quickly by just going out and working that market and trying to hit it. And I know there are problems with the do not call list and some other stuff that we have to watch, but there are lots of ways to build business. And I probably say this too often as well, but prospecting, finding business is a process, it's not an event. And that's where most agents go wrong. They prospect once, they make 20 calls, they knock on a few doors, they say that didn't work. They send out a handful of texts and they wait. And prospecting is not an event, it's a process. You don't go to the gym once and expect to have great abs. I go to the gym so that I can watch other people work. No, I don't go to the gym at all. So you don't plant seeds and expect to harvest. You have to plan, be consistent, and it has to be non-negotiable. It has to be on your calendar like a listing appointment. Because if you don't have time blocked off to do prospecting, you won't do it. If it's optional, you won't do it. It'll never scale. So this is the math of the business. Daily habits lead to relationships, and relationships lead to results. But it all starts with blocking off time. If you take an hour or 2 hours every morning before your email or your social media, before chaos happens, those daily habits compound. And consistent touches with warm up cold contacts. Like even if you had people that contacted you 6 months ago, never bought anything, and they disappeared off the face of the earth. If you start calling those people back now, some of them you're going to regenerate. I've proven it many, many times with agents. Cold contacts turn into conversations, and conversations turn into appointments, and appointments turn into contracts. And contracts don't come from the first touch. They come from the 10th or the 12th or the 20th. You have to stop treating prospecting and follow up like a campaign. Treat it like breathing. You've got to maintain that contact. And the payoff is when you prospect with discipline and then deliver great service, extraordinary service, something really powerful happens. Your clients become your sales force for you. They tell everybody, don't go someplace else. You've got to use my agent. Lisa's the best. Teresa's the best. That's the long game. The agent who prospects consistently for 2 or 3 years ends up with repeat customers, referral clients, organic inbound leads. And at that point, the pipeline feeds itself. But it only feeds itself because you did it in the first place. You fed it first. Early every morning, making uncomfortable calls you don't want to make, or door knocking. It's not busy work, it's building your brand. Now, let me zoom back out a minute. I said earlier, buy business, borrow business, or build business. Buying business means, again, referral fees, Zillow, paid internet leads. You're paying for attention. Borrowing it means maintaining contact with your social network, your sphere of influence, your past clients, networking, and leveraging trust that you already have access to. And building business can be short term or long term. Short term is making phone calls, calling expireds and for sale by owners. Long term is farming, creating content, brand positioning, long term systems that build equity in your name. Now, none of these systems are wrong. None of these approaches are wrong. But you need to know which one you're living in right now because they produce very different long term outcomes. And we want to see how we can help you. Now, I'm going to break some of these down into a little bit more understandable to make it a little clearer. So let me start with buying leads or paying referral fees. If we're buying leads, we're either paying up front like Zillow, or we're paying referral fees, or we're paying up front for the fast leads. So the pros and cons of referral fees. The pros are it's a faster pipeline because you will eventually get leads. If you sign up with enough organizations, and there are a few of you that are signed up with like a dozen of them. And when we did our listing course, and I'll put it back up on the screen, I don't have it on me at the moment, but when we did our listing course, I think I gave you 12 different places to sign up for leads. A couple of you did that. And actually, Dwana is working with Veterans United, and she's getting like 2 or 3 leads a day from them. She also is getting leads from a lending organization in New Jersey and Op City and some other places. Stephanie gets stuff from Op City. Several of you get a decent amount of leads from that. But there are several areas where you can get them, and it's faster pipeline, but you pay a lot on the back end for it. Less marketing work, but it is plug and play. The cons are that it's lower margins. You're making a lot less per transaction. It's also unpredictable flow. You don't own the relationship source, you're renting the business. And you have to make sure those referral fees are paid in the settlement sheet, by the way. When you're buying leads, you're buying attention, and attention without discipline is expensive noise. Conversion rate matters more than volume. You've got to be able to convert these because you'll get more leads from lead sources if you convert the ones they send you. And part of that, which I put in the video we talked about on Op City, is speed to lead, getting to them right away so that you get that lead. And then following up and following up, because the better closing ratio you have, the higher you rank on any referral source, whether it's Op City or OJO or Google Leads or whatever it is, any of those sources is Veterans United. They're going to send them more likely to you if you're the one who's closing them. Now, again, most agents don't fail because leads don't work. They fail because they don't work the leads. Again, 60 to 65% of people who come through as a lead do buy or sell a property within 15 months. But typical agents only close 4%, and many agents only close 1 or 2%. Now, many of those leads coming from Zillow or Realtor.com were leads to somebody else last month for a different property that went to a different agent because they went to Zillow last month, found a property, clicked on it, and connected with them. And this time around, because nobody was following up with them, they clicked on Zillow or Realtor.com again and got a different agent who followed up with them. So they do work, and referral fees work, but you have to follow up and leverage that relationship with whatever lead you close so that they in turn refer you business. Because in the long run, hopefully your business is not coming from OpCity, it's coming from those leads that are sent to you. And these are some of the sources. Zillow, of course. Google pay-per-click is something where you're paying out. Paid social advertising through Meta, Realtor.com, referral fees, and so on. I do want to give you two scenarios, though, one on Zillow leads and one on that other lead source, to kind of show you numbers, though. If I can remove the emotion and just look at the math, and I'm starting with Zillow, which honestly is the most expensive pay-per-lead source. It is really crazy. It's roughly $200 per lead right now. And it depends on the zip code you're in. Some of them are 150, some of them are 275. If you're in Northern Jersey, they're just silly. But if they're $200 a lead on average, and you subscribe where you promise to buy 20 leads per month, that means you're paying them $4,000 a month. And by the way, this is a pretty common spend, a pretty common buy-in. So they guarantee you 20 leads back, more or less, for $4,000 a month. At a 4% conversion rate, if your average commission is $5,500, our average is closer to $5,800, I think. But if your average commission to you is $5,500, and you pay $4,000 to get that sale, to get 20 leads, and you close one of them, you only netted $1,500 in that sale. Now, is that bad? Well, not necessarily. I mean, you may be able to then, you got some money out of it, and you may be able to turn around and get referrals from that person. Or if you got a listing, you might be able to generate more listings from it with circle prospecting. But here's what matters. If your conversion rate drops, or if your follow-up slows, or if you miss speed to lead, that $1,500 disappears real quickly. So paid leads are a math game, and math rewards discipline. This is also the reason why companies don't buy Zillow leads. And we've gone round and round on this. And if you search all the major companies that are out there, there are a couple of teams that buy Zillow leads for their team members, but they're paying them at a 40% split or a 35% split. Because the challenge is, for the office also, they'd have to spend $4,000 per transaction. And let's be honest, the office portion of any transaction isn't $4,000. So it doesn't pay for an office to buy that for the agents. It doesn't work. The numbers don't work. It doesn't math. So that type of scenario doesn't necessarily work. Now, the one I introduced last week, and there are lots of different lead sources. I was trying to give you all the options and alternatives that are out there. This is more of a system-driven approach, the one we introduced, and it's not cheap. Using this lead source, Fast Lead, they tap into Meta and they create compelling offers online. It's actually pretty cool how they work. They set up campaigns to attract leads. And once someone clicks on it, the software retargets that client and keeps putting stuff in front of them until they ask for information. Once they ask for information, and we're testing this, by the way, so we're watching it in the background, it's kind of wild. The AI goes to work as if it's a person. Hi, I'm Jennifer calling from such and such Century One Kime and blah, 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 or Century One Country Lake Homes. The AI goes to work with automated follow ups, with text messages. It does whole text conversations back and forth with them. It'll email them. It'll figure out how to get them to set up an appointment with you. It's, again, pretty wild. And notice something about this: the ads are just the front door. The real leverage is in the follow up systems, the nurturing sequences, the automation, that retargeting. Generating a lead is just step one. And what they've figured out in this campaign is generating the lead isn't enough. Converting it is really the business. So that's where they built this AI in to try and create that relationship that eventually comes back as an appointment to you. Again, most agents focus on attraction. Professionals focus on conversion. Because frankly, what we're looking at is a funnel. And we go from leads to prospects to customers. And what happens in the middle is our follow up, our persistence, our relationship building. We've got to be there at the right time. And different types of leads require different systems. Online leads need a quick response and automation. Leads that come from your social network need a personal touch. And expired listings need empathy and clarity. But without a follow up system, leads evaporate. When you have one, they can compound. So you've got to have that follow up system. And that's why we provided it with Moxie Rise as a CRM. That's why a lot of the stuff we've got is creates that ability to plug them into a system to follow up. And this is a full process. We try and attract, convert them, close them, and really provide service so that they refer us to other people. So strangers become visitors, visitors become leads, and leads become customers. And if we treat them right, those customers become advocates of our business. And most agents obsess over the left side, how to attract more leads so that they only have to talk to them once and then eventually somebody will buy a house. But income stability lives on the right side, and that's in service, because advocates create repeat and referral business, and that's what you need to have a great career. If you want predictable income, you've got to build a process that runs through the end, not just that first step. Now, looking at this scenario under fast leads, and I'm not pushing this, by the way, there's so many different lead sources. I'm just trying to give you options that are out there and figure out what's going to work for you. But based on the same averages, they're saying that it's generating 40 leads per month, buyer leads. It's less than that typically on seller leads, but 40 leads a month on their push for buyers. The average cost of the lead, if you're spending 800 a month, that's 500 for the software, and then about 100 to 300 a month in ad spend through Meta to try and attract these. So about 800 bucks a month. If you're converting 4%, that's 2 closed deals out of 40 leads. At an average commission of 5,500, again, we're a little higher than that. That's about $11,000 in commissions on an $800 spend. So the numbers do work. It's a huge difference, but it is a lot of money per month. But here's the key line. The question isn't whether paid leads work. It's whether you've got the discipline to work them. Low cost per lead does not fix laziness. It doesn't fix not following up. Higher cost per lead doesn't fix poor follow-up. Systems plus consistency are what really create your margin. Now, I do want to go back for a minute and look a little bit at our lowest cost model. And I'll talk about this again in a couple of minutes, but sphere of influence, your social networking and personal prospecting. It costs almost nothing, but it does carry the highest emotional resistance. We don't call our family and friends and remind them we're in real estate. And I never understood why that is. It might be a fear of rejection. It might be that it feels too personal. But one call by itself doesn't build a pipeline either. You have to be consistent. Sporadic effort gives you sporadic results. And the uncomfortable question is, if you've got 100 or 200 people that are in your phone right now, how many of them really realize you're in real estate, know you're the go-to person to refer you? And if they don't, whose fault is that? The model works, but only if you work it. And most agents don't fail because they lack knowledge. They fail because they lack pressure. And like I said, I used to be a lot more aggressive in trying to pressure agents to be successful. I don't do that anymore. And maybe that's why some of you like me better, but some of you are not being pressured and being successful. Greatness is rarely comfortable, but it's created when accountability and fear of loss and relentless action collide. I always come back to looking at it like a diet. If you just hope to lose weight, you're never going to lose weight. If you lay out a plan to lose weight and stick to that plan, you're more likely to lose weight. If you have an accountability partner and somebody's watching you and saying, don't touch that donut, and I'm going to weigh you on Friday, you're going to lose weight because you're actually not only in a system, you've got somebody that you're accountable to make that happen. And that's something that works really well. When the action becomes non-negotiable, the results follow. So the question is, do you want to succeed? And what is forcing you to act? Because it's never comfortable to be a top producer. Now, I've talked a lot in the past about a program called Floyd Wickman Sweat Hogs. I don't think it exists anymore, but it was the top training program for a long time. It was legendary. And not because they had better scripts or better technology. It's because they forced agents into action. It was an 11-week program, and every week you met once a week, and they had trainers all over the country and all over Canada. And there'd be a trainer we went to Jersey, but there was a trainer in Jersey that Tim and Teresa and I would go to. And once a week, you'd go there and you have a day-long training session, then the rest of the week you'd work. And over that 11-week period, the average agent listed 12 homes. 12. That's more than many agents list in a year. And the secret wasn't motivation, it was structure and consequences. It was kind of an interesting system. The core rule was this. You had to go to and this is the one I had Kathy do. You had to go to the office 3 days a week. You had to go into the office and call until you got an appointment. You started with a for sale by owners with a script. You then called expired listings, and then you called around houses that sold recently, and then you started calling random people out of the phone book. There were no excuses. No, I'm going to make it up tomorrow. You didn't stop dialing when you felt tired. You stopped when you booked an appointment, period. And by the way, most of the people that tried this really didn't call for more than an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours to get an appointment, because 14% of the population is going to sell a house this year. And once agents were getting 3 listing appointments a week, they got so many repetitions that their presentations became automatic. 63 to 65 times you've got to do something before it forms a neural pathway. And if you start doing 3 listing presentations a week, you become really good at it really fast. And that is what separates you from everybody else. Confidence wasn't taught, it was built through reps. And here's what made it powerful. It was accountable, public accountability. You had to have an accountability partner, much like a diet. If you didn't do that, you couldn't join the program. And that accountability partner reported you if you didn't make the calls 3 times that week. And the first time you didn't do it, you had to wear a dunce cap in the next class. That sounds horrible, right? But they want you to be successful. They're doing it to benefit you. The second failure, they made you wear a pig nose in class. That's worse. Third failure, they kicked you out. And you spent a lot of money to belong to that program, and they would kick you out. Didn't happen often. And it sounds harsh, but it worked because it removed the option of drifting. It wasn't about humiliation. It was about eliminating excuses. Do the work or leave. And again, 12 listings in 3 weeks. They called 3 days a week, and most people called for less than 2 hours each. Because again, 14% of the population is going to sell a house this year. So if you call 100 people, probably one of them is going to say, I'm thinking about selling, but I'm not really ready yet. The system didn't teach agents how to want success. It forced them to do the activities that create success. And most agents don't need better information. They need enforced execution. Because success in business is rarely mysterious. It's mathematical. So the uncomfortable truth is the fear of loss is a stronger motivator than hope of gain. If I'm afraid I'm going to have a heart attack because I weigh too much, I'm more likely to diet, right? If I'm afraid I'm going to have to wear a pig nose in the next workshop, I'm going to make calls because I don't want to wear that pig nose. Not because I want the listing. I do want the listing, but I don't want to wear that pig nose. So when failure is not an option, that action becomes automatic. And that's why the desperate agent often wins. The one who needs it the most, the one who cannot afford not to succeed. Hope says it'd be really nice to earn $100,000 a year. Fear says I'm going to lose my house if I don't get that. And have to creates action. And the question for each of you is, what is going to be your version of accountability? What makes action non-negotiable? Because when prospecting becomes mandatory, your production follows and you start making money. I'm going to give you 2 or 3 quick examples. Um, this one was the top Century 21 agent in the country a few years ago. And he's an interesting guy. I've met him a couple of times. And it hits hard. He was a high school gym coach or coach who was secretly sleeping on the school gym. Not because he wanted to, because he had to. He couldn't afford to rent an apartment. So after work, after coaching, every day, he went out and knocked on 10 to 20 doors every single day. Not a lot, but 10 to 20. Not when he felt inspired, every day. And then he scaled it. He just said, I'm your neighborhood realtor. I want to introduce myself, give you my business card. If you ever have a need of anything, please let me know. Not a hard conversation, but he did it. He built a 90-day rotation. In 90 days, hitting about 10 doors a day, he hit 900 doors. Same neighborhoods, same faces over and over again every 90 days, 4 times a year. And what happened is he became recognized. They started trusting him. He got listings. He controlled that whole 900 home market. And he didn't just become a success because of talent. He became the number one Century 21 agent in the country because failure wasn't an option. That desperation created discipline, and discipline created dominance. That is a very, very successful individual based on desperation. The number one agent in Pennsylvania for 2025, and this is a little less dramatic, but just as powerful, I think, shared a strategy with us. If you were on our call maybe 2 months ago, 3 months ago, we had this individual on from Bucks County, top Pennsylvania Century 21 agent, and he shared his entire marketing strategy. It took about 90 seconds. Ready for it? He texted every single past client, every friend, and every social contact 4 times a year. That's it. That's all he did. He didn't use a CRM. Now, I strongly recommend a CRM, but that's all he did. Everybody in his phone, he had them broken into sets of 25%. And every day he texted a certain number of people with different things. Some of them were like, hey, I just checked out your house on Zillow. It looks like it's this amount. Or, hey, just checking in, seeing how things are going. Or, hey, I just noticed on Facebook it's your birthday. Happy birthday. Hope you're doing well. But he texted every single person in his database 4 times a year. No complex funnels, no massive cold calling campaign, no shiny new CRM obsession. Simple, consistent, relentless touch points. And when someone needs an agent, guess who comes to mind? Success doesn't require complexity, it requires consistency. And by the way, I've said probably in the last 3 sessions on prospecting, one of the most powerful things Tom Ferry is teaching right now is text every one of your past clients, pick 5 or 10 a day, look up their house on Zillow, and text them and say, hey, I happen to be on Zillow and I happen to look up your house. And it says today it's worth $511,000. That's kind of interesting. I'm curious what you think about Zillow's estimate of your value. I know what I think, but I'm curious what you think. That creates a conversation about real estate, reminds them you're in real estate, and reminds them that you're thinking of them. And that simple thing to do has generated thousands and thousands of leads for his coaching members. And I've talked about it 3 or 4 times. How many of you have done it? It's a really powerful technique to reach back out to people and reconnect. Another top agent, this happened to be one of the top 4 RE/MAX agents in the country, was an agent living in Florida. I know her pretty well as well. She was cleaning out horse stalls for a living. She couldn't afford an apartment, so she was living above the barn, above the horses. Must have smelled great. Her goal was not luxury. It wasn't awards. It wasn't status. It was enough money to pay the rent. So what she did was she got a real estate license, and every morning she pulled the expired list. Now, there's not as many expireds today, but they do exist. Instead of calling them, she drove out to the front door of each of them and knocked on the door. No budget, no branding campaign, no marketing department, just knocked on the door and said, hey, I was in the neighborhood. I noticed your house expired this morning. I'm just wondering what you're planning on doing with it. And she did what others wouldn't. And that willingness changed her trajectory. One of the top 4 RE/MAX agents in the country. Again, not magic, not luck, just execution. And I do mention me sometimes. I don't know if everybody knows, my background, but my top years I was selling between 150 and 120 properties a year. Most of them are listings. I rarely worked with buyers. But back in 1990, I was on the stage in Philadelphia after being recognized as the second highest producing, not the highest producing, second highest producing Century 21 agent in Pennsylvania. And I was 24 years old. I looked like I was 15. I sold 115 properties that year in one of the worst markets in history. We'd just gone through a horrible crash. Nobody was buying, and I sold 115 properties. And another agent from another Central 21 came up to me and asked, with a bit of an attitude, how could you look like you're 15, sell that much real estate? And I smiled. But what I was really thinking was, because I was driving a really crappy car because I couldn't afford a better one, I sold that much because I had to. See, a couple of years earlier, I thought I was smart because I was in a really hot market and I was making all this money. And so I convinced my father to loan me a lot of money and invest a whole lot of money in a Central 21 franchise, and then open two branch offices, which was a mistake at the time, and then invest in a housing development. Again, I thought I was smarter than I was. We borrowed a lot of money. He mortgaged his house to the hilt. He mortgaged his retirement. And then 1988 happened. We invaded Kuwait. The Black Friday in the stock market happened, and it was the worst real estate crash in history until 2008, which was a little worse. Sales just didn't just slow down, they stopped. And it was awful. And we owed about $1.5 million, which in 1988 felt like $1 billion. And my father was nearing retirement. His house was on the line. He was going to lose it. And the reason we were in this position was my overconfidence. And suddenly, the kid who didn't like cold calling was calling every for sale by owner in sight. I was farming neighborhoods. I was working ridiculous hours. And I wasn't trying to get rich. I was just trying to pay the bills and get my dad back out from under the debt. And what I learned is that sales are always happening in every market, even when we're at war and we've had a stock market crash and everybody's afraid. Good or bad, somebody always has a job transfer. Somebody always has a lease ending. Somebody has a baby coming. Somebody is in the middle of a divorce, or somebody died, or somebody's got a dream. The market doesn't disappear. The easy business might, but the market doesn't disappear. So when things get tough, you either wait for the phone to ring or you go find people who need you. And that season changed me. We survived. Many competitors did not. And when the market came back and turned around, we came out as like a slingshot. And I see that coming. I see the interest rates coming down. More inventory will be coming on the market. And we're going to see that. Sorry, I'm coughing. When you have to perform, you discover what you're capable of. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop waiting. You stop hoping somebody else is going to hand you an opportunity and you go and create it. None of us owes us business. Nobody owes us business. Nobody owes us success. But this industry will absolutely reward those who are willing to work for it. And I can tell you from experience, it's far better to work hard by choice than by necessity. So the real question isn't whether the market's good or bad. The question is, are you willing to do what it takes before you have to do what it takes? Now, I'm giving you a few examples of huge successes. Different people are in different environments, but there's one undeniable pattern. When failure isn't an option, action happens. Consistency compounds. Of those 3 listing appointments this week when you're cold calling, one of them might list. One of them might list in 6 months or a year or 2 years, but that compounds. Daily door knocking, quarterly text messages, weekly phone calls. None of them use complicated systems of the people I just talked about. They use simple systems, and they scale them through repetition. The common thread isn't intelligence, it's execution. The Sweat Hogs program from Floyd Wickman proved it. And these stories, I think, prove it too. Top agents prove it every day. Success in real estate isn't about talent. It's not about market conditions or luck. It's about doing the uncomfortable activities consistently, relentlessly, and without excuses. The methods work. The only question left is, are you willing to do them? Because the market will reward discipline, and it's going to ignore intention. Now, I know I'm going a bit long, and I want to talk for about 15 more minutes if you're okay with that. If you have to drop off, it's okay. I'm trying to record. But up to this point, we talked about action. I want to talk a little bit about leverage, because hustle builds income and systems build wealth. Weekly emails to everybody you know, that is staying top of mind. And you can do that in Moxie Rise. And I think it's really powerful and important for you to be sending out a regular newsletter by email, regular emails to people. Quarterly events, that's referrals without begging. Social positioning, that's trust before the first conversation. And that might mean posting that daily video on Instagram or that weekly video on Instagram or holding webinars that people can watch. And we're going to be doing a lot of that this year. Geographic farming, that's owning mental real estate before someone else does. And networking as well. I mentioned Vanessa earlier. She goes to all these Chamber of Commerce events, is connecting everywhere. All of these are places where we can build leverage. Systems remove mood from the business. You don't wake up and ask, do I feel like marketing today? You have something running and it compounds over time. And I have a chart we made here. This is what I did with the help of AI, but trying to look at the trade-offs. Referral fees are fast sales or fast cash, but a much lower margin, lower control. Paid leads are kind of in the middle of the road. They require skill and speed. Social networking, high margin, you make more. High stability, but they're very slow to build that network. Systems are very high margin, very high control, but you have to have patience and discipline. Everybody wants to make a lot of money now, and they want to control it. And very few people are willing to endure the slow build phase, and that's the trade-off that we're really doing. So short-term versus long-term thinking. Short-term thinking says, I need a deal right now. I've got to pay the car payment. So you chase an expired listing or for sale by owner or anybody you can, and you react and you hustle. Long-term thinking is that you're building a machine. You execute daily, you accept the lag, you build infrastructure. Most agents build income. Very few build infrastructure. Income disappears when you stop. Infrastructure pays you long after you work. One of the reasons I brought up that fast lead system is because it does a lot of this stuff for you. It builds a CRM in the background. But you can design and build this anywhere in our software and try and design something that maintains contact. And not every model of prospecting fits every personality. I don't know if you're disciplined enough to run systems weekly, or if you're outgoing enough to prospect consistently, or if you're analytical enough to master paid lead math. Do you have got a budget that you can put money into, or do you prefer stability or adrenaline? The goal isn't copying the loudest person on Instagram. It's designing a model that fits you, because the best strategy in the world fails if you don't execute it. Hybrid model, what actually works. Here's what high performers really do. Early in their career, they buy business, like OpCity, or maybe they pay for leads up front like Zillow, but they buy business and they create cash flow. During your growth phase, you reinvest into your social network, your sphere of influence, and the systems that you're building. And once you hit that mature phase, you can reduce your dependency on outside sources, less rented business, more owned business. And that's the arc of your maturing business. The goal isn't to eliminate short-term tactics. It's to fund those long-term leverage tactics that are going to bring you business over time. Now, I'm going to skip over this for now because of time. But up until now, we've talked about mindset models and leverage. I want to bring this to something practical. Whatever prospecting system you want to use, whatever technique you want to go after, whatever target audience you want to go after, and again, we'll be doing several of these where we talk specifically about different programs. I want to help you to prospect like a professional without sounding like a telemarketer from 1997. You've got to build a system, not make random calls, not burst of motivation. And you've got to create a repeatable structure that turns strangers into conversations and conversations into clients. And I always break it down into 4 steps. Simple, not easy, but simple steps, because I really think that helps you to understand how this works. The framework is part 1 is to choose whatever target audience you're going to go after. And that might be for sell by owners or a neighborhood farm or just sold campaigns or whatever you're going to target, but choose a target. Step 2 is to choose your method that you're going to go after that business. Step 3 is to deliver real value to that group. And step 4 is to follow up consistently. Most agents fail because they skip one of these. They contact everyone with no message, no value, and no follow-up. And this, hopefully, as a system, fixes that. So step 1 is to select whatever the target market is you want to start with. And eventually, hopefully, you'll have 2 or 3 or 4 of them that work as pistons in your business. One might be a geographic or demographic farm. One might be building business through expired listings, whatever that target audience is. But prospecting doesn't begin with picking up the phone and dialing. It starts with choosing who you're going to go after. Your personal network, people who already like and trust you, a geographic farm, a neighborhood you might be able to dominate, a professional niche like doctors or attorneys or small business owners, a specific opportunity pool like for sell by owners or for closures. You don't need everybody, but you need clarity, because when you try to talk to everybody, you don't resonate with anybody. And step 2 is, how are you going to reach out to them? How are you going to contact them? Are you going to make phone calls? That's direct and personal. Are you going to email them? That is scalable and trackable, but it's not going to get the same kind of response. Are you going to use social media and text messages? That can be fast and convenient, but again, it's a lower return. Or in-person visits, which is maximum impact. And the rule is one channel done consistently beats 5 channels done randomly. You've got to pick your lane and master it and then layer it on. And then making contact that counts. Every method has strengths. Calls give you immediate feedback. Email allows you to scale to send out to a lot of people at once. Mail stands out physically because there aren't a lot of people sending postcards anymore. Door knocking creates memorability, making you memorable. Okay. There's no perfect channel. There's only consistent execution. And the real secret is it's not what feels easiest for you. It's about what you'll actually do every week because consistency beats comfort. Now, step 3 is providing value. And I think this is where most agents lose people. They lead with, are you looking to buy or sell? Anybody they call, hey, are you looking to buy or sell? Instead, try thinking about what you can offer someone that's useful. Market insights, neighborhood trends, advice on staging, first-time homebuyer guide, update on the local market. Think of what you can offer that has value to them. And by the way, you can give a report to them. You can do a mailer. You can put it in an email, something that leads back to your website. Or you can do it as a Instagram or TikTok videos, short videos on neighborhood trends or market insights or staging advice. When you educate, you build trust. And when you build trust, you earn attention. And when you earn attention, you earn business. So always think of the value you're providing. Always think of the value you're providing. And some of the value first prospecting ideas, again, are market reports. I've got some of them on the screen. Days on market analysis, seasonal trends on real estate, helpful content, checklists, guides, vendor lists, community information, school information, events. So many different things you can offer. When people associate you with clarity and competence, they see you as not just another agent, they see you as their agent. And that's what we're going for. And then the fourth one is where, unfortunately, most of us fall short. It's where the money's really won or lost. Most prospects need 6 to 12 touches before they respond, and most agents stop at 2 or fewer. Create a system, put it into your CRM, whether you're using Moxie or whether you're using Follow Up Boss, some of you use that very successfully, or something else. Have a calendar, have a task list, whatever works for you, but develop a sequence, a call, email, text, mail, and vary that message while staying present. Follow up for months, not days, because the agent who quits early funds the agent who persists. That's just the way things work. And one of the reasons some of these systems have AI built into them now is the AI is doing some of the work following up, but there's a cost to that, but it does actually work. And let's talk about the not so secret sauce of successful prospecting, the follow up. And I get it. Following up can feel like texting your ex again. But here's the truth. 80% of sales happen after the 5th contact. And that's right. If you're ghosting after the 3rd touch point, you're walking away just before the magic happens. And the kicker is the average prospect needs 7 to 12 touches before they even acknowledge that you exist, that you're not spam. Up to 12. That's practically a Netflix miniseries. Yes, 90% of agents stop after 2 attempts, which means if you're that one who stays consistent, you're not just following up, you're stepping up. I have had so many people that I followed up with on the 6th or 7th time that had ghosted me for the first 6 or 7, call me back or text me back and say something like, I'm so sorry I didn't respond. I was so busy I didn't get back to you, but I still do want to buy a house. You understand that? I want you to hear that clearly. I have rarely had somebody say, stop bothering me. What I usually get if I follow up 6 or 7 times is, I'm so sorry I didn't respond to you earlier. They feel badly about not getting back to you. Consistency is the compound interest of prospecting. Every message, call, email, or just checking in isn't pestering them. It's professional persistence. And the agents who master that are the ones who are turning prospects into profits. So don't quit before your breakthrough. You're not being annoying. You're being unforgettable. I think I'll put that on a postcard. And I do want to back up again to social network because it's so powerful, and I don't think we're spending enough time on it. And I'm not talking about your sphere of influence. It's that magical group of people who already know you, tolerate you at family functions, and might even answer your texts before ghosting you. Your social network, your sphere of influence is basically everybody who won't immediately hang up on you. Your family, your friends, your college roommate, your barista at that coffee shop, your dog groomer, even your 68-year-old Uncle Charlie, who, by the way, might somehow be friends with somebody selling a $3 million building and just forgot to mention it. So every person you know has their own network. And if you're not tapping into that, you're leaving opportunities sitting on the bench like a third string quarterback. So every person has value. You have to constantly maintain contact with it. One of my favorite stories was this slumlord in Easton that I dealt with that was living in his own tenement and nobody realized how much property he owned. But he introduced me to some very, very powerful clients that bought and sold lots and lots and lots of property. So you've got to connect with everybody you possibly can. And I hear all the time, Lauren, they all know I'm in real estate. I don't need to. Yeah, sure they do. Just like they know you were once into pottery, CrossFit, and that MLM vitamin thing. The reality is Aunt Petunia doesn't remember what you do. And even if she does, she's not going to refer you to her high school boyfriend who's now the president of the bank unless she sees you as a professional because they love you. Yes, they do. But they don't want you messing up their friend's deal and showing up at Thanksgiving with cranberry sauce apologies. So you've got to remind them you're in real estate. And I have said this a million times, but I'll say it one more time quickly. If you're new in the business, or even if you're trying to get restarted, sit down and make a list of the 100 people you know, and I'm sure that you do. And that includes your cousin Otto with a Scandinavian restaurant, because I hear Ludwig's, I forget, I'll be quiet about that. And so anyway, make a list of 100 people you know, get their contact information. That means their phone, their email, and their mailing address, carrier pigeon if necessary, into your CRM, and start them on your automated newsletter, which we've got built into Moxie Rise. Very easy to put them on. But in addition to doing that, send them a letter, a physical mailed letter saying, hey, I'm in real estate now, and I'd love your support, and throw a couple of business cards in. And I've done this many times, but this is my quick intro letter. You can make it look handwritten. You can have these printed, by the way, at a local printer so that they look like they're all handwritten, and then just use the same kind of pen to write the outside. But your initial letter should be physically mailed. Send out 5 a day or 10 a day. Dear Aunt Petunia, as you may know, I've made a career change. I'm now a licensed real estate agent. I've affiliated with one of the top firms in Eastern Pennsylvania, Century 21 Keim Realtors or Century 21 Country Lake Homes. And in order to obtain my license, I had to take several courses over the past few months and a state exam. And to join Century 21, I've had to complete a lot of additional education, but I think it's all been worth it. Real estate's an exciting business. I'm hoping you're going to help me in my new endeavor, or support in my new endeavor. If you hear of anybody thinking of buying or selling, please call me and I'll include a few of my business cards with this letter. Please put them in your wallet or your purse and give them out to anybody you can. Remember, although I may be new to the industry, I've had a lot of education and training, and I'm backed by some of the top people here at Century 21. Thanks. And they're going to look at the letter. They might put your business card in their purse. They're going to crumple it up and throw away and say, oh, that person's in real estate now. But then 2 weeks later, fake it until you make it. Send out a marketing flyer, and by tomorrow, we'll have this marketing flyer in your Canva account. You just have to plug in your picture and the picture of 4 houses. What you're going to do is you may not have any listings yet, but that's okay because the office does. So you're going to borrow some from your office, although you should check with the listing agent first to make sure they don't have a problem with it. And up at the top of the flyer, it's going to say, check out these properties currently for sale. And at the bottom, it's going to have your name. And by the way, if you have a picture of yourself and you're not wearing a suit, it's okay. Our AI on C21 Keim University, you can plug in your picture and it'll create a professional photo for you that you can put into Canva. We actually have that as an AI for you. So these listings are not yours yet, but your sphere of influence will assume they are. Are we lying to them? It doesn't say anywhere on here that they're your listings. But they are going to assume they're yours, and they're going to start thinking, wow, that's pretty cool. She's doing much better than I would have thought. You're impressing your friends and family professionally. And it doesn't cost that much to mail 100 of these out. Maybe $40, $50. But print these out. And then stay visible. 2 weeks later, send out a recent sales flyer. Again, we'll have this on Canva shortly. Successful sales by our team. If you know anybody thinking about selling a home, land, or investment property, please have them contact me. You're not claiming you sold them. You're actually saying our team did. But you're nudging that perception needle, because what we're really doing is convincing Cousin Otto that you're the go-to real estate person. You're on fire right now. You're not the guy down the street with the flashy car and the questionable ethics. That's what we're going for. And then the magic happens when 2 or 3 weeks later, you start a campaign of writing 5 handwritten notes every day about 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. Sit down with your coffee or tea or whatever you've got, protein shake, and write out 5 handwritten notes and send them another set of two of your business cards. And show that you care, make it memorable and can't be filtered into the spam folder. And then the next week, give them a call after you send them this note, just checking in. And they're going to ask you about your real estate career. And that's going to get them talking to all their friends and family about how well you're doing, even if you're just starting. And this campaign is what leads them. Again, out of 100 people, 14 of them are going to buy or sell. And half of those 14 are going to buy and sell. So it's 21 potential sales just in that group. And all of them know 10 or 20 people that you don't know. And they're going to hopefully be referring you. And that's an easy method to target people in the beginning. So if you touch your database 6 times in the first 90 days, the people already like and trust you, they're going to start remembering that she's in real estate now. And if you keep showing up monthly after that, and you're on social media with some real estate stuff, and you've got an email going out to them with your newsletter, it reminds them that you're in real estate. And remember, consistency isn't annoying; it's branding in disguise. Some of the ways you can follow up include that e-newsletter or a holiday greeting that we have in Moxie Rise. And of course, social media post regularly about real estate because consistency is your currency. And always, by the way, carry business cards with you and keep a note on your phone with names and contact info as you gather them. Your CRM, your client relationship management system, whether you're using Moxie Rise or Follow Up Boss or something else, is only as powerful as the list that you feed it. So everybody you add to your contacts, every time you add somebody to your Gmail, your Google phone, your whatever it is, you want to get them tuned in so that you have them on your follow-up campaigns. Now, I'm going to close out here because of time, but the agents who win long term are not the ones who stumble into a secret. They're the ones who choose a model and stick with it long enough for it to compound. And the industry is not mysterious, it's disciplined. You don't need a new tactic, you don't need a chosen path. I'm sorry, you need a chosen path. You need the patience to stay on it. And this is where most people break, where top producers separate from everybody else. Now, I'm going to want to hear from you over the next couple of weeks. What has worked lately? What hasn't? Where are you stuck? Because often the most valuable part of a presentation is the conversation that follows. And remember, we've got a whole team in management here that's here to help you. Whether it's me or whether it's Tim or Teresa or Dwight or John or Lisa, all of us are here to help you succeed. Now, there's only so much time in a day, but all of us are here to help you succeed. So we're going to try and provide you the best information and education we can. And all the tools are already out there. It's what are you going to use and how are you going to build it into your business? And again, very shortly, I'll send out an email with some of the stuff upcoming where we'll talk about circle prospecting and expired listings and for sale by owners and life event prospecting. We'll talk about absentee owners and pre-foreclosures. We will talk a little bit about short sales. But a lot of this stuff we'll talk about as specific audiences you can go after and some of the campaigns you can use. But again, a lot of these campaigns we've already got on our university website that we're providing for you. And that's not Century 21's, that's ours. And we've got the campaigns built out. It's a matter of tapping into them, learning them, and starting to work those campaigns and run with them. So what I would love you to do is start looking at what target audiences you want to tackle. Maybe 1 or 2 or 3 to begin with, not 10. And block off some daily prospecting time, 1 to 2 hours, non-negotiable. Put it on your calendar like a closing and start building your plan, the scripts, the lists, your follow-up sequences, and systematize it. And maybe if you're new to the business, you do want to sign up for some of these referral programs where you might pay 30, 25, 30, 35, in Opcity's case, maybe 40% referral fee. But you have leads coming in that you can work, that you can hopefully leverage or parlay into more business, into referrals from those groups, and get started with that. Or maybe you want to sign up for the fast lead and try and get leads that way. But something to start generating, and at the same time, start building your social media campaigns, reminding people that you're out there. In addition to that, think about which of these categories you're going to look at, which types of prospecting you want to do, and start talking about it. And again, on our university site, There are whole campaigns for sell by owners or absentee owners or first time buyers. And we'll also be talking about workshop marketing over the next week, how to utilize that to try and build business. And we'll talk about some of the plans we can use. I'm going to end here for today. I know I went way over where I wanted to go. Is there anything anybody has a question about that might benefit you or somebody else? I'll stop the share for a minute. And I want to thank everybody for joining us today. I hope this is somewhat helpful. I know there's a lot of stuff that I went over, and a lot of it might be a little heady, but the idea is to try and keep you understanding that you have to build your book of business in order to be successful. And we can help you with individual campaigns, but different campaigns are going to work differently for different people. So we've got to figure out what works best for you, what the best target audiences are, and try and help you to get through that and get successful in those campaigns. So, any questions anybody's got at all? And I do see our insurance person, Rich Peterson, is on here. I want to make sure you use him for all your insurance needs because he is fantastic. He has more than 100 companies he can write for.
Yeah.
And again, it does help benefit us if we are able to get that.
Yeah. Can I just share? I'm actually going to be speaking to about 48 new business startups, 48 people tomorrow morning, small business uh, uh, loaned prospects. And so in Allentown, I'll be talking to them. And I got that through networking with a lender.
Networking really works. And Vanessa's building a whole career out of just networking
Yeah,
and doing a fantastic job. So, and
it
I've
does
used her
work.
name too much this time, but it's interesting how different people make themselves successful. All right. If nobody's got a question, I will end that here today, and I will get out some times for some stuff that's coming up. And I want to thank you all for joining us today. I really do appreciate it.